Hey everybody, this is Matt with mathsmath.com. Thanks for joining us here today as we talk about variables. All right, how do we add and subtract with variables? And what on earth are variables? All right, we're in the Common Core Math Standard of Expressions and Equations, and we're going to be using math properties to create similar expressions and using real-life problems to help us with expressions and equations, okay? That's our goal today. Our guiding question is how can we solve these equations by undoing addition and subtraction. So that's what we're going to be looking at today, is when we have equations with variables, how do we get rid of that addition and subtraction when we don't want it? All right, we're going to add and subtract with variables. Oh, look at my cute little cat there. Isn't she pretty? Well, she is. But you know what? She likes to run away. And if we have that back door open, man, she will bust out of there. All right. And sometimes we've lost her. We've had to go find her. And really what you got to do is retrace your steps. You got to work backwards to find the lost animal or anything. If your parents have ever said, hey, just walk backwards, go back to find something that you've lost. Well, you know what? We've lost the variable here today, and we're going to try and find it, and we got to work backwards. All right. Well, what do you do when you don't have all the information you need? When you think about it, when you've got a problem, you use deductive reasoning. You think about what are you missing and how do I work backwards? Just like if you forgot something, you want to retrace your steps. Just like when we're trying to find what a variable equals, we're going to backtrack. We're going to work backwards, okay? All right, we're going to treat it like PEMDAS, working backwards, except it's SADMEP. Not 100% perfect, but it's a good starting point for you to think about what do I do first? Got to stick with subtraction and addition, then division and multiplication, and then so forth, okay? So we're going to look at PEMDAS, but with variables, when we have a number that we don't know, we use SADMEP. All right, so let's do it. All right, if the equation says add to the variable, well, you subtract it from the variable. If it says multiply something by the variable, then you divide it by that. If it says subtract, and then add, and so on, okay? So let's do that. Let's talk first about what actually variables are. All right, variables are a letter representing an unknown number. It's just a letter, and that's it. X, P, V, L. Any of those guys, okay? Here's the example. Here, where's the variable? All right, variable's right there. You got an X as the variable, and a Y as the variable there. You can have any variable that you want. Typically use X, Y, and Z. Probably won't see an O because it looks so much like 0, and probably won't use an L because it looks like so much like 1. Okay, but you can pick your variables. All right. So the opposite operation, that's what we're going to look at. Okay. Well, let's write this equation down. X plus 5 equals 3. We're going to solve through this equation. We're going to work through this now. What operation are we doing to the variable? If you look at the variable, what operation are we doing? We're adding 5. Okay. What's the opposite of adding 5? If you said minus 5, you're right. So we don't want x plus 5, we just want x. So we got to get rid of the plus 5. How do we get rid of plus 5? Subtract 5. Subtract 5 there, but if you subtract 5 on the left side, you got to subtract 5 on the right side, okay? So our goal is to find out what the variable, or x, equals. Right? If there's ever a variable there, you're trying to figure out what it is, that's our goal. We're solving for x, okay? Get everything away from x, and then you'll figure out what it equals. All right. What you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side. If I subtract 5 from the left, I have to subtract 5 from the right. Just like if I give one of my friends $5, my other friend's going to be like, where's my $5? You got to give it to them too in order for you to be fair. Okay? Why don't you try these? What operation are you doing to the variable, and what operation would you do to get rid of that? Notice on the first one, you're adding 2. How do you get rid of adding 2? Subtract 2. How do you get rid of minus 3? Add 3. Now this one looks different. It's actually the same as number 1. The 2 comes first. We've been talking about what you do with x and then 2, but what about 2 then x? Well, how do I get rid of, is this up or down 2? Regardless of this guy right here. Is this up or down 2? It's up 2, isn't it? So how do you get rid of going up 2? Go down 2. Which means subtracting 2 from this side, okay? No big deal. All right. Now the addition and subtraction property of equality. This means that if I subtract 1,000 from the left side, I got to subtract 1,000 from the right side. This is called the property of equality, and we'll see this a lot, even with division and multiplication too of these equations. Well, we're going to solve for x using this property. I'm adding 5. How to get rid of adding 5? Using the subtraction property of equality. Okay. We're going to write a new equation without changing the answer by doing the opposite operation and using the equality property. So let's do it. If we add 5, then we're going up. How do you get rid of going up 5? Go down 5. Which operation is going down 5? Remember, our goal is to get back to 0. All right, so we got x plus 5 equals -2. Instead of adding 5, we're going to subtract 5. And it'll look something like this. This is your new equation. You've got x plus 5 minus 5 equals -2 minus 5. What's 5 minus 5? 0. That's what we wanted, right? We wanted to get rid of that positive 5. So then we subtract 5 from the other side too, okay? Our goal is to get x by itself, get everything away from that x. It's stinky, and the numbers want to leave it alone. All right? And then we just solve for x. Why don't you solve for this one? Subtracting 3. How do you get rid of subtracting 3? All right. Did you add 3? Good. All right, well, let's do these, guys. Why don't you work through these equations, and notice we've got some decimals and some fractions, nothing different. Just treat it as like maybe -8. What would you do with -8? Well, you'd add 8, so you got to add it to the other side. Same thing here. Just treat this 6 and 7/9 as just 6, and it'd be x minus 6. Well, add 6. So you're going to add 6 and 7/9 to the other side, and you're going to subtract the two numbers. All right. Why don't you read these sentences, and why don't you try and see if you can summarize them and write an expression mathematically with it. 7 less than a number x is -9. And by less than a number, I don't mean the alligator thing. I mean actual like subtraction. All right, how you doing? Figuring it out? I bet you are. Well, here are your hints and your answers. Well, good job today. As we talked about variables and how can we solve equations by undoing addition and subtraction. Can you answer this question now? How you do it? Not too bad, huh? If you see an addition there, you're going to subtract. If you see subtraction, you're going to add. Super simple. All right, that was it as we talked about variables and adding and subtracting them. This was Matt with mathsmath.com. Check us out on Facebook at Solving Math Problems and on Twitter at mathsmath, and enjoy math.